Good evening and welcome to our 2025 commencement ceremony. I'm Fritz Steiner, the Dean and Paley Professor here at the Stuart Weitzman School of Design. And I want to express and extend a warm welcome to friends and family members of our graduates who have traveled great distances to be here. They would not be here today without your support, so thank you. Tonight, we have students from 23 states and 32 countries. In fact, the Weitzman community has been international since the earliest days of our school, and it continues to be one of our great strengths. As a result, not all of our graduates' loved ones are able to be here in person. Some people in the audience are watching us on YouTube. So wherever you're watching from, whatever the time is, we're glad to have you with us. So let's take a minute to appreciate this glorious building. It was designed in 1929 by a Philadelphian named Julian Abel, the first African American to graduate from Penn with an architecture degree. He was recruited by Horace Turnbauer, the firm behind many of the grand residents of many of the country's most successful industrialists. Abel earned a reputation not just adapting historical styles to create fine interiors, but also rendering interior space and its decorative details. Not only did he design over 600 buildings, he worked skillfully with wood, ceramics, iron, copper, brass, and stained glass. He made furniture, jewelry, paintings, and lithographs. Some of the most important and inspiring buildings in our city, including the Philadelphia Museum of Art and the Free Library, are works of Julian Abel. Across Philadelphia, thanks to the preservations of buildings dating back to our country's founding and before, history is everywhere you look. But much of our country's history is not visible. Our university stands on the traditional homelands of the Lenape people, and the Lenape were the inhabitants of our regions for approximately 12,000 years before the first Europeans arrived. And thousands of Lenape continue to live in their homeland in eastern Pennsylvania and the Northeast. On the subject of history, I should tell you a little bit about the Weitzman School. We have been educating architects for 156 years, artists for nearly as long, landscape architects for 101, planners, preservationists, and spatial analysts for decades. It is our mission to prepare built environmental professionals and artists to improve the quality of life in communities around the world and to confront climate change and rising inequities. It's our belief that architecture, landscape architecture, preservation, planning, and the allied professions need to evolve in deep and lasting ways so that life on Earth, both human and non-human, can thrive in all of its diversity. To this end, we cultivate an appreciation for history and those who have been historically disserved by design and planning. We need to cultivate an understanding of political, aesthetic, natural, and mechanical systems. And we need to cultivate a commitment to community engagement. As my faculty colleagues and I prepare the next generation to have a positive impact on the world, we pursue a more just, sustainable, and healthy environment through partnerships with government agencies, NGOs, foundations, and other community partners. All this is to say the faculty and students at Weitzman are dedicated to improving the places where we live, work, play, and worship. Office buildings, hospitals, schools, parks, playgrounds, sporting arenas, churches, mosques, and synagogues. We make them work better, not just for all people, but for all species on planet Earth. Life as we know it depends on the forests and oceans and the diversity of species they support. Now, I'm a 3-time graduate of the school, so the school's mission is very personal to me. And one of the reasons I feel strongly about is because of the brilliance and generous mentors that I had when I was a student here at Penn. I've written fairly often about my mentor, Ian McHarg. He was a Scottish-American planner who came to the United States after the Second World War, founded the graduate landscape architecture program, was also on the city planning faculty, and he gave birth largely to the American environmental movement. You may not have heard of him before, but it is really McHarg's students who helped launch the first Earth Day. And he was the reason I came to Penn. For all the graduates here today, I hope you found your own mentors at Penn, or at least people whose ideas and belief have inspired you. As for me, my first professional hero was really not McHarg, but a sociologist whose name was Herbert Gans. Gans was born in 1927 in Cologne, Germany, and just passed away last month. Fleeing the Nazis, he and his family immigrated to Chicago in 1940. He came to Penn as a graduate student and was the first person to earn a PhD in city and regional planning a couple decades before I got here. After teaching at Penn, he went on to teach at MIT and Columbia. Gans was a prolific scholar and a true champion of America's poor and working class. He wrote some of the most revealing books about American culture that I know, shattering myths about urban and suburban life, poverty, immigration, and the media. For his thesis, his master's thesis from the University of Chicago in 1949, he moved to Park Forest, Illinois, to study the Jewish community there. In The Urban Villagers, published in 1962, he immersed himself in Boston's West End, a vibrant Italian-American community. For the Levittowners, one of America's first planned suburbs, he moved to the New Jersey community and lived there for nearly 2 years. One of the questions that Gans was preoccupied seems especially relevant today. What is it to be an American? Even late in his career, he admits he was still trying to make sense of America. After all, this is a country founded by immigrants and still today is a mosaic of subcultures and subgroups. Denise Scott Brown was another student who was very influenced by Gans. Her and Robert Venturi's book, Learning from Las Vegas, was clearly influenced by the Levittowners, by Gans. It was Scott Brown and Venturi who were responsible for renovating this auditorium 25 years ago. Another example of how we look to make a positive difference in the world. There's something uniquely American about both Levittown and Las Vegas, but a big question posed by Gans, Scott Brown, and Venturi isn't unique to the United States or any country. That question is, what is our responsibility as creators of places? In the United States, architects and landscape architects have an explicit responsibility to others. They have to earn a professional licensure in order to practice. After all, the stakes of their work is quite high. A building needs to stand up. It needs to meet building codes, zoning regulations, and state and local preservation requirements. Enforcing them is possible because of the police powers granted to state and local governments by the Constitution. In 1954, in 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court laid out the conspicuous examples of police power as public safety, public health, morality, peace and quiet, law and order. Now, I am confident that our graduates are committed to work that supports public health and safety. Peace and quiet may be a little less so, depending on the occasion. And when it comes to morality, law, and order, it's my hope that they find themselves in a community where there are shared commitments to taking care of the most vulnerable among us, whatever the cost is. Each year, we recognize 3 individuals of the faculty with the G. Holmes Perkins Distinguished Teaching Award, named in honor of the architect and longtime faculty member who served as our dean from 1951 to 1971. These awards are based on nominations by the students to recognize distinguished teaching and innovation in the seminar or in the classroom, seminar, or studio. The 2025 Faculty Award winners are Rudy Gerson, a lecturer in fine arts, Leah Kaler, our 2024-2025 McCarg Fellow, and Robert Gerard Petrusco, Associate Professor of Landscape Architecture. Thank you, Leah, Rudy, and Bobby for your many contributions to our school, and congratulations. Please stand and be recognized.